Hello, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome back to Caribbean Sim Motorsport here on YouTube. Today, we're back at it. We're back at Bushy Park for the virtual Bushy Park Clubman series. My name's Chris Reardon. I'll be your commentator for today. And thank you for joining us. And if you will join us in the future, when you're looking back on this, thank you for watching. So, today, this is round 5 of the series. Last time out, we were, of course, here at the lovely modded Bushy Park circuit on Assetto Corsa. Last time, we were in the Formula 3 cars, open wheel race cars. This time, we're in something very different, very different. As you can see, currently, in a bit more of a unremarkable around the track, we're in some BMW Cup cars. We're in a E36 318 Ti to be precise, producing about 130-ish, 140 horsepower, and a 1.8 litre naturally aspirated petrol engine on street tyres. These cars are a lot of fun. They've been lovingly modded into the game as well, and so you won't find them standard on Assetto Corsa, but they are a lot of fun. These least powerful cars, or less powerful cars I should say, often do produce some very good racing. Of course, being slightly less powerful, less chance of spinning, the field is closer together, they have less chance to spread apart, being a big speed difference. No downforce, no ground effect, no real aerodynamic qualities to speak of. They are just sort of a tin can on wheels, but a very fun one nonetheless. The most important thing to note of these cars, I just mentioned previously, these cars are on street tyres. If you've been watching the previous races of our series, in everything we've done so far, from the Radicals, the Formula 3s to the Swift Cups, they've all been on slick tyres. But this time we're on some good old-fashioned Chinesium street tyres. So things will get a bit slippy from time to time. It will really test the driver's car control, getting a bit of slip angle going on, going through the lap. So it just provide a little bit of a different challenge to what we're used to. And obviously, being tin tops, there's going to perhaps be a little bit of contact. Of course, if you've watched any of our previous races, we're not averse to contact around here. These things do happen, but these being essentially touring cars, I dare say we're going to be treated to a little bit of contact today. I'm currently watching Damien Hall and Dominic Charles going around the track together, currently P1 and P2 in this practice session, and it's already showing what we have on offer for the race to come. They've been around the track together for about the past 10 minutes or so, as they've been doing a half an hour practice session. And they haven't really left each other's bumpers so far, and even up and down the field, there just seem to be a good spread of times there to keep everyone occupied, but also there'll be some good battles appearing as well. So I'm stoked for this. I think this is going to be a great race. This is going to be really close at the top, all the way down through the field, and yeah, I'm rather looking forward to this. With that in mind, there's just over 5 minutes left of practice. There's been a half an hour practice session just for the drivers to get in the ride, tweak their setups, any last little bits. Then we will head into a 10-minute qualifying session. Standard qualifying, 10 minutes, drivers get to go out and just set the best time they can. Nothing too tricky there. And then we'll be treated to two 15-minute sprint races. No pit stops, no change of tyres or fuel to worry about. 15-minute dash to the line to see who comes out on top. And the second of those races will be a reverse grid race. Now that is the spicy one. The first race, drivers get seeded pretty much to see where they all pan out over the 15-minute race distance. But the second one, wow, if you've watched any of these before, then you know what we're in for. Fast drivers coming through from the back, making some lunges, just trying to get past a few of the slower drivers, and this is where the carnage starts to happen. And it's not usually carnage, to be fair, just a little bit of door-to-door contact, making use of the curbs, cars jump in the air. It's a lot of fun, and yeah, race 2 will be where things get interesting. And that's the name of the game with this series. Of course, this is sponsored by the Bushy Park circuit itself. Should mention that. There are prizes on offer for the winner of each race and the top 3 of the series, lovingly donated by Bushy Park Circuit. So thank you to them, as ever, for sponsoring this, being able to put this up. They've allowed us to beautifully mod the track into Assetto Corsa. Of course, this is not a standard track. In Assetto Corsa, it's been lovingly modded in, all the time taken by our incredible team. So we thank them for that, as well as the cars and the track. And they've done a beautiful job of putting it in. So where was I? Yes. Shall we? Let's go through the table. I think that should be a good time to start. So it's tight at the top, as you should see the graphic on screen. Currently leading with 164 points is Mr. Damien Hall, who is currently P1 in this practice session. Closely followed by Dominic Charles in second place at 145 points. But Dominic Charles last time out didn't have a greatest of race. He DNF'd the first race, and the second race had a tough time coming through, and Damien managed to extend his lead just a little bit. But then in third place, Barry Hill with 107 points. Barry had a very good time last time out, and I'm sure he'll be looking to replicate that in the BMWs. And this is where things start to get a bit tighter. The front 3 sort of spread out a little bit, and this is where things get tight in the midfield. In fourth, Robert Simmons with 98, Oisin Wilson in 5th with 89 points. Going down to Ryan Hunt in 6th. Now Ryan has missed the last couple of races in this series. He was here for the first 2 rounds, then missed this rounds 3 and 4, but he's made an appearance back this weekend with us, so he'll be looking to jump up a bit from the order, improve on his 76 points. Looking down again, we have Kevin Manning joining us again this round, currently on 51 points. And Kadeem Mohammed, currently in 10th, he's joining us as well. He missed the first 2 rounds as well, so again, some of these drivers joining a bit later on just need to crawl back a few points. And then looking further down the order, you got from 12th place to 17th, only split by 5 points. These drivers not always being able to make all of these races. Unfortunately, none of those drivers are here, but you can see just how close this series is. And then in 20th, we also have Chris Wiggins, who is Mr. Starsky in Clutch, currently in 5th place. So he'll be one to keep an eye on as well, looking to bolster his way up the order. And we also have 2 new drivers joining us for this round. Give them a mention. We have Sebastian Palmer and Mr. Kurt Loss joining us for the first time. So welcome, gentlemen. And I hope you have a fortuitous introduction to our series. Hopefully it won't be a baptism of fire. And hopefully we can all have some fun. And but thank you for joining us. And of course, as I was mentioning, this series is based on fun. While there are points and prizes on offer, you know, these drivers all known each other for quite a while. A lot of them race together in teams on Assetto Corsa Competizione, and as well as in real life. There's a lot of rallying fanatics. Of course, the Barbadians, we all have a bit of rallying. A lot of rallying fanatics about the place, do things together in real life as well. So these drivers, most of them all know each other. They all get on, so there's very rarely any hard, bad feelings coming away from this. It's a fun championship. You could all get involved at home. If you have Assetto Corsa, that's all you need. You could do this on a keyboard. I wouldn't recommend doing it on a keyboard, but you could do it on a keyboard if you wanted to. All you need is the game and the ability to move a car forward and turn left and right. That's pretty much it. There's no entry barriers or anything. There's no qualification process to get into the series. It is just turn up, have a bit of fun. We stream it all to you lovely people, and we can all have a laugh at our driver's expense as they as they try not to put their cars in walls. Now, having said all that, the practice session has just come to an end, which means in a short amount of time we will be progressing forward to the qualifying session. As I said, 10 minutes for the drivers to see how they get on. I mean, currently it seems to be business as usual at the top two. Damien Hall and Dominic Charles battling it out, less than a tenth between them. And then as we move down the order is where things start to get a bit tighter. Damien and Dominic do seem to be running away a bit at the front of this series, but it's always the midfield where things get a bit spicy. We all know this. The midfield is the most exciting racing there can be. It's where everyone is very, very close. Currently from 4th down to 7th, only there is a split of 7/10 of a second, so you can just see how close it is, and drivers are still going to be making improvements throughout the qualifying session, I'm sure of that. So, as everything fades to black, the session will progress forward to qualifying, and we will wait and see who will be the first to venture out into qualifying. And we will hopefully be able to ride on board with them. And we'll give you a quick show of what Bushy Park has to offer. In fact, this first out is Mr. Dominic Charles. So why don't we, let's ride along with Dominic, and we'll be able to show you the lap. Has a couple of interesting corners to Bushy Park. Huge curbs on the inside, as you may have seen already, a couple of drivers clattering them. They really do lift the cars into the air. They're not ones to be trifled with. It's not like Paul Ricard where you can just use them as much as you want. These things will punish you if you use too much of them. And I dare say during the race we'll see quite a bit of that. There's drivers going 2, possibly 3 wide come race time. So as Dominic makes his way around the lap, I'll start when we cross the start-finish line. We'll do this properly. He's just coming towards the end of the lap now, going into heavy braking zone, the 3rd last corner of the track. Good variety of corners on this track as well. A lot of camber to use, so getting to the inside is often the best way to do it. As he comes through the final chicane, he comes over the start-finish line. He will start his first flying lap. Hopefully it's a good one. Coming down into turn 1, stick to the left-hand side. Quite hard on the brakes, just trail them in. Get nice and close to the apex on the right-hand side. A little nibble of the curb. Not the best apex that for Dominic, but you've got to squeeze on the power as quickly as you can. Come over to the right-hand side of the circuit. Again, another heavy braking zone, but a lot of camber to use on the inside. Get it all the way to the left, and then you've got to squeeze on the power nice and gently. Run the car out a little bit, but not too far, because you've got to come back over to the left for the first sort of long chicane. Keep it to the inside of the corners, use the camber to your advantage, and coming out at the end, just keep it as far to the left and open up the corner as much as you can. For a little interesting section, sort of a long, real, technically 2 corners, but you want to try and make it one long one if you can. And then coming on to the back straight. Really difficult braking zone this, because you've got to just turn the car and then get hard on the brakes as late as you dare. Again, using the camber to your advantage on the inside. Run it out to the left. Have a dab of brakes for the last section, turn it in, and then through a little kink of a chicane. You can use a bit of the grass here and there through the chicane there. And that would be a 1:14.2 for Dominic Charles on his first lap. Only a tenth off, or half a tenth off what he set in practice, and that has currently put him in P1. As Mr. Damien Hall has also crossed the line to set a 1:14.6. So I expect those two to close up the gap quite a bit as qualifying goes on, as more of our drivers cross the line. Barry Hill putting himself in 3rd with a 1:16 dead. Kevin Manning only 3/10 behind currently. And then followed by Sebastian Palmer at 1:19.1. Seemed to have a bit of an issue there on that lap, did Palmer. Hopefully looking to rectify that a bit later on. And a couple of the other drivers just filtering through. I believe next across the line will be Kirk Moss. Just going through the final chicane. Crossing the line now. We'll see what he's managed to set. A 1:16.5 for Kirk, putting him up in 5th. That is a good effort there for Kirk. And Rob Sibbons as well, also crossed the line, setting at 1:17.6. As well as Kadeen Mohammed, usurping Mr. Moss. Also setting a 1:16.5. You can see how close as it is already. As, in fact, Dominic Charles has improved upon his lap. He got into the 113s. This is the first 113 we've seen of the day so far. Good lap there from Mr. Charles, extending his lead over Damien Hall. Damien, of course, won't be happy with that. It won't be long before Damien closes that gap, I can guarantee it. And also, furthermore, a couple of the drivers, Barry Hill and Oisin Wilson, started to close the gap as well onto the top two. Interesting to see just how close they can get come race time. Barry Hill is often one to be a slightly quicker racing driver than he is a hot lapper, is what I've come to realise over this series so far. Usually sticking around the 3rd or 4th place, Barry usually, more often than not, improves in the races. Good racecraft, keeps out of trouble most of the time, and just one to keep an eye out for. If he manages to put it in P3 in qualifying, I think that would be a very good result for him. In fact, if we just think back to the previous round in the Formula 3s, Barry did come 2nd in the first race. But yeah, remembering he did have some reasonably sized incidents in the 2nd race of the in the reverse grid. In fact, it's worth noting Damien Hall managed to win both of the races last time out, getting a good haul of points. So I know what Damien will be hoping to do this race to replicate that. But Dominic Charles currently putting up a good effort to steal the top spot away from him currently. There's a big gaggle of cars coming down the 2nd straight, about 4 in a row there. One of which is Ryan Hunt, who's we're welcoming back to the series after an absence. Currently running a bit wide, just letting the faster cars go by, or perhaps messed up the first corner a little bit. Someone was just turning themselves round. I'm not quite sure who that was. But we'll just stick with Ryan, currently in 5th place, 1:15.8 seconds so far, 4/10 off of Barry Hill. And he has a 3/10 gap behind him to Kevin Manning. So as Ryan just makes his way down to the back straight, he'll be looking to get in another. He might be able to sneak in another 3 laps if he does these last couple of corners rather briskly. Of course, the drivers have to cross the line before the clock strikes 0, and they get one final lap. If they cross the line after the clock strikes 0, that's the end of the session, and they have to trundle round, make it to the pits, and that will be their final position, or their starting position, I should say, for the first race. So, Ryan running a little bit wide on the first corner there. He just managed to keep it away a bit further away from the apex than I'm sure he would have liked, perhaps a bit unsighted from the car in front, but keeping it nice over to the right hand side this time. Gets the braking point right there, gets it to the apex nice and early, runs it out nice and wide, using all the track available to him. So as the car pulled over to the right, just getting out of the way. Nice entry there for Ryan. And a little bit, just a smidge far away from the apex of the second part of the chicane there, but he's closing the gap to the car in front. Whether that will eventually hold him up, I'm not too sure, but of course in qualifying there's no onus to move out the way. If the car in front is on a lap, unfortunately you have to deal with it. It's all about spacing, it's all about patience. In fact, he's gone very wide there, keeps... That was nearly a rather impressive accident. I think it was Kevin Manning who just got onto the grass, spun it round and nearly took out Ryan Hunt, but managed to avoid incidents as Ryan Hunt crosses the line. Manages to improve by about 1/10 of a second, getting up to 1:15.7, increasing the gap from Kevin Manning, and he's just driven past, waving as he goes past, as he's facing the wrong way, but not good enough to try and crawl in to Barry Hill. Now, just looking up to the top two, Dominic Charles still in the lead with a 1:13.9. Damien Hall, as I predicted, I'm not clairvoyant, it's obvious, Damien Hall managed to close the gap to a 1:14.0, so what's that, about 0.08 of a second between the top two. This is going to be a very close race. It's going to come down to a bit of luck with what goes on. Maybe a lunge or two. We all love a good lunge. here at Motorsport. So as those two, in fact, as Dominic just crosses the line to start what will be his final lap, Damien Hall might be able to sneak in one more, as will quite a few of the drivers. They managed to time this quite well, and it's quite nicely spread throughout the field. I think Rob Simmons currently trailing the field 116.9, only 5/10 off of Sebastian Palmer in 10th. So all the way through the field, we're going to have some form of battling, I can guarantee it. As a couple of drivers have already gone into the pit lane, they are happy with their qualifying so far. Oisin Wilson, Ryan Hunt and Sebastian Palmer all retired to the pit lane already, so their qualifying session is over. As who's this going to just be able to cross the line? Kirk Moss. Will he make it to the line just in time? He may have just been able to start another lap there, did Kirk Moss. In fact, no, he's just slowing to a stop at turn 1. So Kirk Moss lining up in 7th currently, the 115.8. Sebastian Palmer in the pits. Rob Simmons has also retired to the pit lane. He'll line up in 11th place, as there are more drivers currently crossing the line. I believe. Yes, that is right. Sorry, I just had to work out the driver order going round. Dominic Charles is currently in 1st place. Damien Hall back across the line. Will he be able to improve? He does improve, but not by enough. Damien Hall setting a 114.007. Mr. Bond, a 007, not enough to get into the 113s, and that is the qualifying done and sorted. Quite a lot happened at the end there. There wasn't too much of a changing of positions, it seemed, but that is the grid done and dusted. Once they move over to the race session, we'll run through the grid, but a good qualifying session there. There are some very equal times. There is less than a second. There are 8/10 separating 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drivers in the middle of the pack, and only just a little bit further off are the final 3. So this grid, this race is going to be split very nicely as we move in. So let's run through the starting grid, as there is a minute and 45 on the clock before the race starts. Time for you to grab a drink of water, relax, get your favourite blanket, coffee, maybe not a coffee at 8 o'clock, but, you know, a drink. And yeah, we'll run through the grid order while you do that. So, lining up on pole position, getting into the 113s, is Dominic Charles. Then lining up alongside him, 2nd place, Damien Hall. The front row of the grid, bit of a familiar sight if you're a regular here at Motorsport. 3rd place, Oisin Wilson managed to outdo Barry Hill to get to the front of the 2nd row of the grid. So Barry Hill there in 4th as well. Ryan Hunt lining up in 5th. Good to see Ryan returning. Ryan, a good race car driver. He's more often than not improved upon his qualifying position, so keep an eye out for him. Just brushing doors, brushing bumpers with the cars in front. And then we have Chris Wiggins, Starsky and Clutch. He's changed his name, good on him. So we've got Chris Wiggins in 6th, lining up alongside Ryan. And then Kurt Moss in 7th, alongside Kevin Manning. And Kadeen Mohammed in 9th. Sebastian Palmer in 10th place, and bringing up the rear is Mr. Robert Simmons in 11th. So, Robert, I know for a fact, will be hoping to improve as much as possible. He, in fact, got a 2nd place finish last time out for race 2 in the reverse race. So maybe that's a tactic Rob enjoys employing, is perhaps sacrifice the first race, do well in the 2nd race. We'll wait and see if that plays out. As the lights start to come on, we will get race 1 underway here for round 5, the Motorsport Championship. And it's lights out, away we go. There's a huge puff of smoke for all the cars to get going. In fact, I believe that was a very poor start for Barry Hill. He's already down to 7th before we even reached the first corner. And there's 3 wide going into the first corner in the middle of the pack. It's Barry Hill, Chris Wiggins and Kurt Moss. All back jostling for position. Coming round the first corner, a couple of losers in there. The field starts to spread out. The top 3 just running away with it just ever so slightly through the first turn. And that was Ryan Hunt going very defensive into turn 2. Oh, bit of a sideways moment for Barry Hill, and I think that was Kurt Moss who's found himself backwards facing the wrong way towards turn 2, and Rob Simmons who had to take some evasive action, so not a great start for those two. Already dropping off the back of the field as we look back up towards the front. Dominic Charles leading Damien Hall, going on to the back straight for the first time. It's a good start for Dominic Charles, managed to keep his position. Damien Hall also doing well. Oisin Wilson, top 3, all maintaining position. Ryan Hunt in 4th, Chris Wiggins in 5th. All the way down, Barry Hill 6th, Kevin Manning in 7th. Just having, Sebastian Palmer having a huge look up the other side of Kevin Manning. Bit of contact for Palmer and Manning, I should say. In fact, Mohammed has managed to sneak through as a result. So Manning in 7th, Mohammed in 8th, Palmer in 9th. Resulting from a big lunge from Palmer, just managed to push Manning through the corner, but no harm seems to be done. Manning already going defensive, clip of the curb on the inside. Mohammed will have the run going into turn 2. He's right at tucked in under the back of that car. He's going to pull to the inside, have a look. Will he be able to be on the brakes that little bit later? Not quite. Kevin Manning doing a good job getting the braking right as they go too wide, coming into turn 3. And that is Kevin Manning still defending that position. Mohammed's got to watch his inside. There's Palmer sniffing at his heels, looking left and right, making himself as big as he can in those mirrors of that BMW. But no harm done. There seems to be Mohammed just holding on, running a little bit wide. This scrap is allowing Kevin Manning just to pull away slightly. In fact, looking up ahead, that was Ryan Hunt having a big off, just coming on to the final section. He's managed to hold the brakes, keep it on the curb, and it seems everyone has managed to make it through unscathed as he just gets himself going. Very unfortunate for Ryan. That was a good start for him, being in 4th place. But looking up towards the front of the field now, we'll just check in with Dominic Charles and Damien Hall. Seems to be business as usual for the top 3 so far. Dominic leading Damien, leading Oisin. About a 1 second gap between the 3 of them. Sorry, 2 second gap between the 3 of them. 1 second between each. So it'll just be a case of if Charles can just keep his head, keep it nice and tidy. We've already seen these low grip street tyres bringing up a couple of issues for our drivers so far. Hopefully they manage to keep it facing the right way for the rest of the race. Of course, we're only on lap 3 of 15. But as we found out with these races before, it is possible for anything to happen, and Damien Hall just clipping the grass on the outside there, trying to extend track limits as much as possible. Of course, with these low-powered cars, it's all about getting on the power as soon as you can, making the track as wide as possible, and just carrying as much speed throughout the corners. It's all about momentum. All about momentum. Keep the apex speed as high as possible. You'll go quicker than everyone else. In fact, we're just going to jump back to Kevin Manning, who is still just having to defend slightly from Kadeem Mohammed. Mohammed has just managed to gap Palmer ever so slightly. But something for these 3 to think about is Mr. Ryan Hunt, Mr. Kurt Moss, just coming through from the back of the field as the race goes on. Those who had a bit of a rickety start with a bit of contact and a spin or 2, they'll start to come through and catch up with these 3, and that's when things might get a little bit messy. But we'll wait and see. For now, all Manning has to do is just make sure that the fellow BMW of Kadeem Mohammed doesn't get any bigger in his mirrors. And then he'll have some food for thought. Just keep your head down, keep plucking away, perhaps make a bit of ground on Barry Hill in front in 5th, and just see how things tick along. And speaking of Barry Hill, he's now within a second of Chris Wiggins. This will turn into the battle for 4th place. Barry just seems to be reeling him in slightly. Of course, Barry Hill had a bit of a slide coming out on lap 1, which allowed Chris Wiggins through. So Hill, the fast qualifier, of the two. So wait and see if he can regain the position. In fact, going through turn one right now, side by side, Rob Simmons and Ryan Hunt. Bit of a door bang on the exit as well. Going down to turn two, side by side, we have Rob Simmons just on the inside. Undoubtedly going to try and keep it there. Dives to the apex, well done. Runs a little bit wide on the exit, allows Ryan Hunt to get the undercut. And that was a well-executed move from Ryan Hunt there. Just allowed Simmons to just brake that little bit later, a little bit too late, run wide, and took the position without too much hassle. That was well done from Ryan Hunt there. And I dare say Kurt Moss, also catching Simmons now, will be looking to do something very similar as they come round to the back of the circuit. In fact, now, jumping forward, Kadeen Mohammed is just trying to go around the outside of Kevin Manning, and he's run very wide. That's a bit of a slide there from Sebastian Palmer, just trying to keep it under control as Mohammed was rejoining the track. Now has the inside coming into the last couple of corners. Hits the curb, little bit of contact. Palmer just trying to use all the tricks in the book to try and get Mohammed behind him. And I dare say that's worked quite well. Palmer now up into 7th. And Mohammed losing the position. He's trying to make the move for 6th, has ended up dropping down to 8th. Mohammed will be a bit frustrated with that, I know that for sure. An opportunistic move from Sebastian Palmer as they come down into turn 2. Mohammed just that smidge later on the brakes, just slightly better on the brakes it seems as well. And just a moment of calm, I think, before another storm ensues a bit later on into the lap. And we'll stick with these 3 for now, just to keep you updated of the everywhere else in the field though. Top 3 as they are, the gap extending between all of them is still Dominic Charles in the lead, Damien Hall in 2nd, Oisin Wilson in 3rd, Wiggins 4th, Barry Hill in 5th. Of course, these 3 on our screen now, Kevin Manning, Sebastian Palmer, Kadeen Mohammed. Behind him, Ryan Hunt, who made that great move on Rob Simmons, and behind Rob is Kurt Moss, who is in fact closing on Simmons. So we'll keep an eye on the gap, but we'll stick with, in fact, no, I believe Rob Simmons has run wide coming out the final corner, and this has allowed Kurt Moss through, and at the end of lap 6 for them, Kurt Moss has made his first overtake of the day, getting past Rob Simmons. Rob did run a little bit wide coming out the final corner, allowed Kurt through, and that was an easy pass for him. And Kadeen Mohammed, a bit of a chop and change going on. Sebastian Palmer managed to get his way back through past Kadeen Mohammed, but Mohammed now done the undercut through turn 2. Oh, it's all happening now, it's all happening. Mohammed found himself up into 7th place, back past Sebastian Palmer. Unfortunately, we did miss that when we were looking at the Simmons and Moss. There's still a bit of a ding-dong going on. Ooh, and that's Mohammed off into the gravel. It looked like Palmer hit the curb and tapped Mohammed and spat him into the grass. Now Ryan Hunt's in on the act. He's managed to get past Palmer, but Palmer will have the inside for the next turn. Will he be able to get late in the brakes? No, he just decides to tuck in behind. Probably a sensible move that. Hunt with a big touch of the curb, just making his life that little bit more difficult. And amongst all of this, Hunt back up into 7th place. He's managed to make his way back through the order quite nicely. The next target for Ryan will be Kevin Manning in 6th place. Of course, amongst all that scrapping going on, Manning has managed to run away a little bit. He's managed to scamper off into the distance. And Ryan will be looking to hunt him down. So, a bit unfortunate there for Mohammed. We'll have to review that a bit later on, but it seemed that coming towards the back end of the circuit, I think it was Palmer just defending his position on the inside, clips the curb, sends the BMW spearing into the side of Mohammed, clips him onto the gravel, slows the car down, and then that allowed both Palmer and Hunt through. So as I said, unfortunate there for Mohammed, but it's not all hope lost. He has Kurt Moss now in front of him. So there's about a 3-second gap between Kurt Moss and Mohammed. So with 6 laps left, there's still time to decrease that gap and try and overhaul a couple more points. As Kurt Moss now right on the back of Sebastian Palmer. I don't know if Palmer has a little bit of damage from that bit of contact, getting a bit of a slide on in a BMW. Not a surprise. An E36, but if you've ever driven one of them, you know what they're like. Just all over the back of Sebastian Palmer. Couldn't quite decide where to go going down into turn 1. Managed to gain a little bit more ground. In fact, Palmer neglecting to go defensive, perhaps left the door open a little bit much there for Moss. We'll see what happens. Does he manage to get the braking right? Oh, that was very well done from Palmer there. Oh, a little bit of slide again. Palmer just trying to get on the power just that little bit early, consistently, just trying to push the limits of the car as much as he can, getting the back out wherever he can as well. Bit of showboating for the fans, it seems, having some fun. As Palmer still managing to hold on to 8th place, and Moss tucked in behind in 9th. As I said, this is allowing Mohammed to catch up as well. There's a little bit of contact there. Palmer, still struggling to get on the power. Whether he's got a bit of an alignment issue from that contact, I'm not too sure. But it's making life very difficult for him, as Moss managed to get past Palmer for 8th place. And now Mohammed also right in on the act. If Palmer really is struggling with that car, Mohammed's just got to watch out again. He's just got to make sure that the incident doesn't repeat itself and he can get through cleanly. Coming down into turn 1 now. Ooh, nearly lost it on the brakes, did there, Palmer. He's really struggling with that car. You can tell it's just not quite sitting right for him. He's doing very well to keep it pointing in the right direction. I'll give him that. Mohammed just having a little look to the inside there. Having a couple little looks, just trying to put Palmer off. Nearly worked. The car's still struggling under braking. And Mohammed just now nearly alongside. Just those little looks, just making Palmer think. Just making him think about it, put him off a little bit. Much better this time through from Palmer. Avoiding those curves, still struggling with getting on the power. You can see the car's not very happy. Little touch of the curb, little wiggle. Oh, just a little bit of side-to-side contact there. Mohammed tried to go around the outside on the grass of Palmer. Very opportunistic, but didn't quite work. Of course, on the grass, you have very little grip. Oh, a big sideways moment from Palmer there. Well done to keep it together, but that has allowed Mohammed through. I think Palmer's been going to the E36 school of driving. This is very sideways from him. This is extreme stuff. It's not the quickest way around the corner, but God, is it good to watch. And that has allowed Mohammed back through into 9th place. And has also increased the gap to Kurt Moss. So while all that was happening, Moss managed to run away a little bit and just spread the field out a little bit more. So I dare say now things are just starting to spread out. In fact, Rob Simmons has just pulled into the pit lane. Rob Simmons was down in 11th place, perhaps just struggling with the car a little bit, has decided to pull into the pit lane. I think he'll be retiring from this race. Whether he has an issue, I'm not sure. Robert Simmons also disconnecting, so I dare say Rob coming across an issue with the car or a setup, and unfortunately has retired from the race. So we're down to 10 with 4 laps left of this race. Dominic Charles still in the lead, coming into turn 2. Pulled out a healthy gap to Damien Hall. Whilst the time sorted itself out, about 4.5 seconds between the two. So as long as Dominic can keep it together, there should be no cause for alarm. Of course, it's happened before. We've seen in the previous race in the Formula 3s, most of the drivers were guilty of dropping it every now and again. Just a wheel on the grass. We've seen it can take all it takes is a wheel on the grass, perhaps just losing it under the brakes. These tyres really don't offer much grip. Enough to get around the circuit, but not enough to get around that quickly. And with a bit of fun, if you're Sebastian Palmer, you can go a bit sideways as well. But no such thing is happening for Dominic Charles as he comes across to complete lap 12, just going on to lap 13. And as we look back, 3rd place is still O'Sheen Wilson. He's managed to drop back quite a fair way from Damien Hall, whether he had a couple of near misses with a curb or with a wall. Not too sure, but he's currently in 3rd, and even he has a healthy gap to 4th place of Chris Wiggins. Chris's second race, or second round, I should say, with us in this series. As in fact, looking back, Kevin Manning and Ryan Hunt are right next to each other coming on to the start of lap 13 for them. Ryan Hunt pulled to the inside, had a much better run coming out the final corner, keeping it very much to the inside. It's going to compromise his exit. Can Manning make most of it, getting the exit on? Just clips the curb. That's going to hamper him. In fact, yeah, just the clip of the curb killed all his momentum coming through turn 1. And an excellent move there in the end from Ryan Hunt, making his way up into 6th place. No dramas for him, kept the cars well away from each other. And now Ryan will be looking to just scamper away. Perhaps if he can put a bit of pressure on Barry Hill before the end of the race, you never know what could happen. A couple of mistakes creeping in here and there. We'll wait and see what finds out whether Kevin Manning can mount any sort of comeback or reprisal against Ryan Hunt. We'll wait and see. Ryan's not running away with it. Kevin keeping within half a second. So they're coming around the back of the circuit now. Ryan struggling with this corner earlier in the race. Just seems to have got it a bit under control. Well, Ryan had a... this is where Ryan dropped it coming into... the previous corner. Just spun it round on the grass and ended up towards the back of the field. Now back up to 6th place. And now, just little by little, starting to crawl away from Kevin Manning. In fact, running a little bit wide at turn 1. That's going to allow Manning a little bit of hope. You can tell Ryan's really pushing to try and extract everything from this car. Not enough to challenge the top just yet, but with a reverse grid race coming up in 2 laps' time, that's where things will get interesting. These cars can become very wide when you have a faster driver behind you, as we've seen, and so the reverse grid race will undoubtedly throw up a few incidents. We'll put it that. So stick around for the reverse grid coming up in just over a lap's time. Dominic Charles, currently in the lead of the race, has started his final lap. He's coming through turn 2. In fact, since we last checked in, he's managed to put about a second gap on Damien Hall, which is very impressive. Dominic clearly the fastest car on track, and consistently so, as he's coming through the middle of the lap. And Damien Hall in second, O'Sheen Wilson in third. So you can clearly see these cars tricky to drive. They're tricky to extract all of the pace from. They have potential. Of course, they are still BMW Cup cars. They are thoroughbred race cars, just with some street tyres on, just to spice things up a little bit. And so, Dominic Charles coming around the last couple of corners. A very drama-free race for Dominic Charles. He's going to come across the line to win race 1 of round 5 here of the Caribbean Sim Motorsport Virtual Bushy Park Clubman Series. That's a mouthful. Damien Hall coming across in second place. A good race for Damien as well. Good haul of points. Should mean that while Dominic does close up, he retains the lead of the series. O'Sheen Wilson coming across the line in third. Good result for O'Sheen now, looking back to 4th place. Chris Wiggins. The gap between Chris Wiggins and Barry Hill came down a little bit in the second half of that race. Not enough for an issue for Wiggins. So in only his second round with us here, coming over in 4th place. That's a very good result for Chris Wiggins. Barry Hill in 5th place. Ryan Hunt, Kevin Manning. Kurt Moss has come out of nowhere. Kevin is going to have a run to the line. Whether he can perhaps overturn Kurt Manning, not quite. If that had got on one more lap, we were in for a treat of a battle there. So Ryan Hunt coming over in 6th, Kevin Manning 7th, just holding on by 0.2 of a second. Kurt Moss. Kadeem Mohammed coming across the line in 9th place. And then Sebastian Palmer, who looked like he was really struggling, perhaps with some damage from some contact. The car looked very unhappy, as you can see him sliding it through the last corners. But that sliding only really seemed to develop in the second half of that race. So Sebastian Palmer comes across the line in 10th place. And Rob Simmons did retire, unfortunately, from the race on lap 5. So only 10 finished of the 11 drivers that started. But a very good race 1, I think you can say there. Kept mostly nice and friendly. You can see the drivers still struggling to get to grips with a bit of the cars, causing a few issues, as they always do, these BMWs. If you've ever had any track experience in them, you turn traction control off. No OBS, of course, as well. They can prove to be a real handful. So well done to Dominic Charles for winning race 1. This, of course, means he will be at the back of the grid for race 2, as I mentioned before. It is a reverse grid for the second race, and that's where things get a little bit interesting. That's where contact starts to emerge and the men from the boys are separated. As I'm just going to take a bit of a sip of water, because I appreciate I've been talking flat out for 15 minutes with some very good racing. And as the cars move back to the pit lane, we could allow myself to take a break. So I hope you enjoyed that first race at home. It certainly was a good bout of racing up and down the field. Top 2 did spread out a little bit, sort of what we expected, what the pace showed in qualifying. But then some good battles up and down the field. So as we just wait for the game to move itself on to race 2, of course, with the original Assetto Corsa, it's all automated. You just set it and it does it, it goes. So we don't have the control that you have in Assetto Corsa Competizione, but we do the best we can. So, with all of that in mind, in fact, Kadeem Mohammed is lining up on pole, which is rather interesting. Oh, I would think. On the timing screen is showing Kadeem Mohammed, but in actuality, it is Sebastian Palmer on pole. He did cross the line in 10th place. So we'll run through the grid for race 2. So on pole is Sebastian Palmer, who unfortunately did come across the line last in race 1. In 2nd place, Kadeem Mohammed, who very nearly managed to catch up to Kurt Moss at the end there, and Kurt Moss also having a good battle with Kevin Manning in the end. So Kurt Moss in 3rd place, Kevin Manning in 4th, Ryan Hunt, who managed to overtake Kevin Manning in the last 2 laps of the race there, and having a good comeback actually, coming from last into what turned into 5th, so good result there for Ryan at the end. He will line up 5th on the grid. Barry Hill in 6th. A bit of a quiet race for Barry. It was also for Chris Wiggins as well. The two of them sort of settled into position at the start of the last race, and it continued that way. So Barry Hill in 6th, Chris Wiggins in 7th, and then the top 3 of the previous race, O'Sheen Wilson lining up in 8th, Damien Hall in 9th, and Mr. Dominic Charles, the race winner from last time, lining up in 10th. So as we just wait for the lights to turn on and for the race to get underway, we'll be heading into race 2 of round 5, the virtual Bushy Park Clubman Series. And it's lights out and away we go. All the drivers having a good start this time. No such slow start to be seen so far. Sebastian Palmer leads the way into turn 1, lap 1 of race 2 here. Kadeem Mohammed just having a little look, just giving Sebastian Palmer a little touch on the inside there. In turn 1, just a little hint of a touch, perhaps a hit a bit of the curb as well. The car's now careering down into turn 2, 3 wide in the middle of the pack. O'Sheen Wilson, Dominic Charles, I believe that was Kurt Moss as well. There's a little bit of contact. All cars all coming together towards the back of the field. 3 don't fit into 1, chaps. This is something we need to learn, that not quite coming together as well as they'd hope. There were a couple of winners out of those first 2 corners, though. Dominic Charles already up into 5th place. There's a spin. There's a spin ahead. That was Kadeem Mohammed having whether it was contact involved, I'm not sure, but he's managed to get it back facing the right way, and he's not dropped too far back. And Dominic Charles already up into 3rd place. He's not even 1 lap has passed, lad, and you're already 3rd. Slow down. This is outrageous. Dominic Charles having a very good start on lap 1. Kevin Manning also in 4th, who he just overtook. There's no! I completely jinxed everything. There's a huge amount of contact between Kevin Manning and Dominic Charles. Oh, Dom, I'm sorry. The commentator's curse strikes again. Kevin Manning, a bit late on the brakes, goes straight into the back of Dominic Charles, turns him round, T-bones him for good effect. Hopefully the spread damage on Dominic's car isn't too much, but that was very unfortunate for Charles. There's now coming on to lap 2. Ryan Hunt going very defensive from Kadeen Mohammed. Looking to go around the outside is Mohammed, and just behind them there's Wilson and Wiggins having a good old scrap as well, coming down to turn 2. Let's look at Ryan Hunt going defensive on Kadeen Mohammed, as is Wilson on Wiggins behind. Ooh, Ryan Hunt nearly going into the back of Kevin Manning there. Just get on the brakes a little bit too late. And that's going to give Mohammed just a sniff. Perhaps just get alongside, not quite, tucks in behind of Hunt. As they make their way through. In fact, there's a good battle going on for the lead as well, I can spy. There's Palmer, Hill and Hall and Moss. All 4 cars within a second of each other, coming down towards the latter part of the lap. Sebastian Palmer still doing a good job leading the way. 3 cars all having a look up the inside of each other. Barry Hill defending from Damien Hall. A battle for 3rd place, or 2nd place I should say, and Moss just having a little bit of contact with him for good measure as well. Hall trying to stick it round the outside. Does he just manage to make a stick? No, but he has allowed Moss to have a good run coming out the final sector there. And they're going to be 2 wide. In fact, Barry Hill managing to sneak up the inside of Sebastian Palmer. Will Palmer manage to keep it round the outside? The camber just favouring the inside car. A little bit of contact between Hill and Palmer. And Damien Hall managing to sneak round the outside. They're 3 wide going down into turn 2. Can they make it 4? Can Moss manage to get in the action? Hall still on the inside. Hill also looking just round the outside. Oh, this is fantastic racing. There's just so much going on. Hall managing to keep it in the lead, as all the rest of the cars start to join them again. So it's Hall from Palmer, from Hill, from Moss, all going into the middle part of that single file. Oh, no, huge amount of contact. Sebastian Palmer, Barry Hill coming together. There's more. Kurt Moss has gone round in the background. Oh, that's a very unfortunate for Kurt Moss. He's come off the worst of that situation. It looked like just of trying to avoid the contact in front of him. He had a bit of a moment, and amongst all that, Damien Hall has managed to scamper off into the lead. 2 seconds gap to Sebastian Palmer. So Damien Hall coming out the winner in that foray. So Hall, Palmer, Hill, Hunt. Life just calming down. Mohammed throwing it down the inside of Kevin Manning. And there's a spin in the background. I can't remember. That's Chris Wiggins going off in the back. And that's Kadeen Mohammed having a huge spin halfway down the straight. Probably contact assisted. Of course, these tin tops are proving a little bit frustrating. And I believe Kurt Moss has retired to the pit lane amongst all that happening. But O'Sheen Wilson trying to go around the outside of Kevin Manning. Just tries to get the switch back, not quite being able to do it. Kevin Manning retains 6th position to come down on lap 4. Barry Hill in 2nd place, defending from Sebastian Palmer. Running a little bit wide is Palmer. Oh, getting a good slap of oversteer there as well, allowing Ryan Hunt through up into 3rd place. So that's now all in the lead from 5 seconds from Barry Hill. Ryan Hunt in 3rd, Sebastian Palmer 4th. Dominic Charles managed to find his way back up into 5th from being last again. Oh, good old Dominic, he always makes life interesting. Kevin Manning in 6th, O'Sheen Wilson 7th, Chris Wiggins 8th, Kadeen Mohammed in 9th, not too far off the back of the field, so hopefully be able to make his way through if they keep fighting. So we'll stick with Palmer and Charles. Charles is going to, for sure, try and make his way through. In fact, as Kadeen Mohammed is disconnected as well. I think that was just a straight disconnect. Very unfortunate for Mohammed there. And we're left with 8 drivers in the race. Oh, Charles just sticking his nose up the inside of Sebastian Palmer. That was a robust, we'll call that a robust move from Dominic Charles. He just wanted to get through the field as quickly as possible. So Dominic Charles up into 4th now, as he tries and chases down Ryan Hunt. Ryan Hunt also having a look at Barry Hill as they come in down to turn 2, and there's a spin in the background. Kevin Manning has gone round. It looked like just a bit of oversteer sends him into the middle of the park onto the grass. So Kevin Manning unfortunately falling very far behind there. I believe it would take a lot of doing for Kevin Manning to try and catch up now. As we still look, oh, there's a big moment of oversteer for Ryan Hunt, allowing Dominic Charles through the middle chicane. Dominic Charles perhaps just forced the error there from Ryan Hunt. That allows Dominic Charles up into 3rd place. Dominic also always manages to come back through, but puts on a good show doing it. So Barry Hill now has to worry about Mr. Charles. The battle for second place will hot up shortly, I'm sure. As there's just a little bit of calm starting to emerge, I feel. There's been a couple of spins, there's been a couple of incidents, as Charles Leclerc would say. And coming down into turn 1, we're looking at Oisin Wilson just trying to make himself as big as he can in Sebastian Palmer's mirrors. Palmer just defending slightly from Wilson. Wilson gets a good run. A little bit of a nudge there coming out the back. Perhaps he wants to work together with Palmer. Perhaps he's saying, get a move on. We can take the guys in front. Would not be surprised if that was the case. Just with the amount of battling going on, anything can happen. It's very possible that working together is the way forward here. Some sort of karting rules. A little bit of a nudge. Give him the 2 fingers to go forward, and away they go. As Palmer's actually defending from Wilson. To try and stick a move through here takes some serious cojones. It's bit of a slide there from Palmer. Still struggling, it seems, to be able to get the power on as smoothly as he'd like. It's all just giving Wilson some confidence, I feel. I dare say Wilson won't have to force the move as Palmer's going defensive very early, coming into the last part of the track. Very early defence. Oh, a little bit of contact. Oh, no! Oisin Wilson being sent into the wall onto the gravel. That's going to be heavy damage there for Oisin Wilson. He manages to keep it going in the gravel, but just a bit of movement under braking from the pair of them, if I'm being honest. I'm not quite sure who was at fault there. It looked like Palmer gave him the room, but then Wilson just tried to go a bit further to the inside where Palmer was, and the unfortunate way the collision happened meant Wilson ended up careering into the wall. And now Wilson finds himself down in 7th place. And Chris Wiggins up into 6th. Chris Wiggins, since the contact from early on, has had a relatively quiet second half of the race. And now just starting to come back through. And there's been a change for 2nd place as well while all that was happening. Dominic Charles has found himself up into 2nd place now from starting 10th on the grid. However, there is a big gap to Damien Hall, about 7 seconds between them. So I'm not quite sure, judging by the consistency of these two in the first race, I dare say there's going to be not a lot happening between those two for the rest of the race. We'll see how that pans out. If we just look back, Sebastian Palmer and Wiggins very close on track. Palmer just ran a little bit wide coming into the 3rd last corner, but there's still contact between Palmer and Wiggins. Palmer tried to keep it round the outside. Wiggins also just clipped the curb, ran into him a little bit as Wiggins switches to the outside. Does leave the door open slightly for Palmer to have a look. Just having a little bit of a slick bout of understeer there from Sebastian Palmer. And just allows Wiggins to keep hold of 5th position. So a good opportunistic move there by Chris Wiggins. Perhaps just a little bit of contact assisted, but if it goes, it goes. If it sticks, it sticks. And if it works, it works. So Chris Wiggins up into 5th. Good for him. So the next closest battle we have is the battle between Barry Hill and Ryan Hunt for the final spot on the podium. As we are just over halfway through this race. We still have 7 laps left. So Barry Hill defending from Ryan Hunt ever so slightly. Still just trying to use all of the track as much as possible. Both drivers avoiding the giant curbs on the inside, don't want to touch them. And Barry Hill going a bit defensive there on Ryan Hunt. Ryan Hunt switches to the outside and has a look back to the inside. It's a late lunge from Ryan Hunt. Can he make a stick with that contact? Little bit of a nudge coming through. Both cars running a little bit wide, but Ryan Hunt has managed to make it through with a hint of contact. But Barry Hill is not one to give up. I know he's going to be trying to get back as soon as possible on Ryan Hunt. Of course, Ryan Hunt not averse to a robust move. And to be honest, neither is Barry Hill. So both of these will keep going down to the wire, and we'll stick with them as they make their way through the second half of that, both clattering the curb on the inside, just allowing Hill that little bit closer. Has a look to the inside of Ryan Hunt, actually makes Ryan Hunt jig to the left. I think Hunt was expecting a huge lunge there from Hill, but Hill, as a result, perhaps just struggled to get on the power a little bit. And Hunt has managed to pull about a second gap as a result of that. So rather unfortunate there for Hill. I think he had the chance to make up quite a bit of ground on Hunt there, and perhaps go for the move, but unfortunately just now dropping back a little bit. As Sebastian Palmer has had a spin back in 7th place. Very unfortunate for Sebastian Palmer. That has allowed Oisin Wilson through, and Kevin Manning is going to be hot behind him. So just coming onto the back straight, Sebastian Palmer looked like he had a bit of a tank slapper and got on the power a bit too much. Palmer sliding it through the final section. This has allowed Kevin Manning right up, as Kevin Palmer's still sending it through the final part of the lap. Whether he's just having some fun now, I'm not sure. But that's going to allow Kevin Manning to have a look up the inside potentially. Very aggressive defence there from Sebastian Palmer. In fact, nope, Palmer's lost it. That's Palmer out. Just a very robust defence there from Sebastian Palmer, allowing Kevin Manning back up through to 7th. And there's been a change for 3rd place. While that was going on, the finals podium spot, Barry Hill back up into 3rd place from Ryan Hunt. It's all going on up and down the field. Not quite sure what happened to Ryan. He had a healthy gap, so I'm wondering if he made a mistake. Hill back through, and there is a spatter lag for myself. Hold on, and there it's back again. Barry Hill just still holding on to 3rd place as they cross the line to start lap 12. And very briefly just mention out front, Damien Hall still leading Dominic Charles, 5.5 second gap between them. Charles is just closing the gap between the top two, but the final podium spot seems to be where it's all occurring. Just a bit of calm falling across the field. Apart from these two right here, they're quite spread out. So whether Barry Hill can just try and hold off Ryan Hunt, we will wait and see. They're coming through the middle sector. Both drivers keeping it clean, staying off the curbs. A little bit wide there for Barry Hill, a little bit wide. Ryan Hunt will be able to just capitalise a little bit, just shorten the gap a bit. Coming onto the back straight. Slipstream, not worth a whole lot through this track, but every little helps. Of course, tucking into the car behind will always give that little extra speed boost, but the straight's not really long enough to feel the big benefit. And with no aero to speak of on these cars, other than the shell itself, not a whole lot of wash for the cars to deal with. So coming across the line to start lap 12 for them. Barry Hill keeping it on the inside, clip of the curb going through turn 1. Again, all these little tiny things, they start to add up as they get through the race. Ryan Hunt, 0.2 of a second behind, is able to have a look to the inside, but decides to go to the outside coming into turn 2. Barry Hill, very defensive. Can he keep it? Ryan Hunt likes to switch back. We've seen this on stream plenty of times. Ryan Hunt loves to switch back. He's actually on the outside of Barry Hill, technically in front. Is Barry going to have to concede the position? He doesn't. He keeps it stuck to the inside. Ryan Hunt just having to filter through and manages to keep it stick. Barry Hill still in 3rd place, although Ryan Hunt is all over the back of him. Barry Hill having to deploy all of the defensive manoeuvres to try and keep him behind. A little bit wide there from Ryan, using all the track, trying to just have a look to the outside of him. Barry Hill, will he go defensive? Not very, little bit defensive, just half closing the door on Ryan Hunt, but not the best overtaking move through there with the cornering under braking. But a little bit of a wiggle for Barry Hill, coming up into turn 1 again as they cross the line to start lap 13. Barry Hill going very defensive very early. Ryan Hunt switching to the outside, going as close as he can to the pit wall, looks to just cut back to the inside. Can he make a move stick without any contact? He does, but Barry Hill sending it round, losing the traction under brakes, just sending the background, hint of oversteer, and just allowing Ryan to stick with him as close as he can. Barry still going defensive into turn 2. Very good on the brakes from both of them. No change of position, no bits of contact. This is all very clean, close racing. This is what we like to see, gentlemen. This is what we like to see, Mr. Hunt. So, whether Hill is just a bit wary of Hunt's previous endeavours with trying to get past him, he'll be leaving that little bit more room as Hunt has a look to the inside. He has the run on Hill. Ooh, that was very close. Ryan Hunt just a bit more than grazing the curb on the inside, we'll call it that, but manages to keep it out of the side of Barry Hill's BMW as they approach and round the final corners to start their penultimate lap. God, this has gone quickly, isn't it? Jesus, this has gone very quickly, starting the penultimate lap for these two. Barry Hill has a little bit more of a gap to Ryan Hunt. Oh, Hunt closing massively on the brakes, just losing it slightly. Loss of traction, a hint of oversteer. And oh, that's a let-off for Barry Hill. That is, Hunt was all over him like a rash, like a wet t-shirt. And Hunt just falling a bit behind to Barry Hill. A bit of breathing room for Hill as Sebastian Palmer, that is, in front. It's not quite Dominic Charles. Palmer still just having a bit of fun, which is good to see, enjoying the car, as long as he hopefully doesn't affect this battle too much. Losing it over the curve as Palmer keeps it out of the way, obeys the blue flags. Well respected, Palmer, well respected. And will not affect this battle. As Dominic Charles, Dominic Charles, he's in second. Damien Hall crosses the line to start his final lap. Still leading from Dominic Charles. And then Barry Hill and Ryan Hunt going down to fourth place. Oisin Wilson, amongst all of that, I saw in the background, did overtake Chris Wiggins, so it's Wilson in fifth, Wiggins in sixth, Kevin Manning in seventh, and then Palmer in eighth. And amongst all that, the two retirees are Mohammed and Moss. Meanwhile, Hill still defending from Hunt going through turn one. Oh no! Oh no, a bit of contact there from Hunt on the back of Hill. It seemed Barry Hill just lost it ever so slightly going through turn one. I don't think Hunt had anywhere to go, and as a result, just a bit of contact finishes the move off, nudges him round. Oh, that's so unfortunate there for Barry Hill. Not the way he would have wanted this race to end on the final lap. I don't think Hunt could have done anything about that. He was a sitting duck with Hill pirouetting in front of him. And with that, Damien Hall is rounding the final corner in the final chicane. And he's going to cross the line on lap 15 to win race 2 of round 5 here at the Carib Sim Motorsport Virtual Bushy Park Clubman Series. Good win there for Damien Hall, got it done very early. Dominic Charles crosses the line in second. A good haul of points for the both of these. They come away sharing the spoils with a 1-2 for the both of them. First for Damien this race, and then for second for Damien the last race. And then vice versa for Charles. Hunt crosses the line. Ryan Hunt crosses the line in third place with a bit of capitalising on some luck and some relative unluckiness for Barry Hill, crossing the line in fourth. Oisin Wilson coming home in fifth, followed by Chris Wiggins in sixth, and Sebastian Palmer also a lap down, crossing the line in eighth, just in front of Mr. Wiggins. And then last to cross the line and coming home in seventh place after a good couple of scraps is Mr. Kevin Manning. Oh, and we can breathe again. Another 15 minutes of talking. Oof. So, I hope you've enjoyed that at home. That was certainly an eventful race. The very start of that race, action-packed from the very beginning. No caution spared from any of the drivers. Little bit of contact as you expect with tin top racing. As the top three line up on the bridge. Damien Hall crossing line first, Dominic Charles in second, Ryan Hunt in third, Barry Hill in fourth, Oisin Wilson fifth, Chris Wiggins in sixth, Kevin Manning seventh, Sebastian Palmer eighth, and the classification will show Keen Mohammed in ninth and Kurt Moss in 10th. As I said, those last two unfortunately did retire. So, with the top three lined up rather picturely on the Bushy Park Bridge, it's worth mentioning we will be heading into the driver's debriefing room, and we will hopefully be getting a few reactions from that race. And I dare say there's going to be a lot. There's some very good racing all round. Quite a bit of contact for all three. For everyone. So, just as we go to head over to the driver's room, just have a bit of a debrief. I apologise if you hear any untoward language when we join, but hopefully there won't be any. So give us a minute while we move across, and we will bring you their reactions live.
I feel right off the track.
Yeah.
Right, hello drivers, and for those of you at home, we're currently sitting in the driver's debriefing room after what was some very good, I say for the most part, some drivers will disagree, it was quite clean racing throughout the two races, a couple bits of contact here and there, a couple of slides for those, but overall that was very, very, very enjoyable to watch. I'll say first of all, well done to Damien for winning that second race. We'll jump to you straight away. Damien, how did you sum up those two races?
Well, I came into the race knowing that this car wasn't strong with this car, that Dominic was stronger with it. But from practice, I realized that I could find the pace to qualify on pole. And I just missed out because I made a mistake in my final lap. But I knew that if I wasn't ahead, I would never, because I could actually hold him off. We actually had like a dry rehearsal during practice because we were out on the track. And he was actually behind me, and I realized, well, because of the pace of these cars, I could actually hold him off if I get ahead. So that was the first thing I had to do, and I failed to do that. So I just made up in my mind that I had to do damage control and see if I could get the fastest lap. But didn't even get that. Dom was just on today. And then the second race, as per usual, I tried to avoid all the confusion, so I lag on my start a bit, knowing the pace difference. But then Dom had a much better start. So I decided to follow him, and my heart was in my mouth the entire time. And then he got taken out, and from there the race was over basically because he had to fight his way back up from the back. So that was it for me.
Yeah, it was I suppose in a way quite a good result, because with a first in the first, a second in the first race, and then a first in the second race, no points lost between the pair of you. So I suppose you're quite happy with that.
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
Perfect. And of course, with that, we'll jump to Dominic. A incident-filled second race, the complete opposite of the first race. I mean, you found yourself at the back twice.
Yeah. I kind of went into it thinking to myself, well, I have the pace. All I need to do is take my time and get through the pack. And it went really, really well until I got in front of someone going into the last few corners, and well, I guess they mashed brakes too late because I was going in pretty fast, and I got pit maneuvered. So after that the race was over. I just had to try to get back up to second.
Of course, yeah, good. Well, you hit your target, and you're actually closing on Damien towards the end there as well. Do you think I don't know how many more laps do you think you could have got him?
Yeah. I mean, this car, I feel a lot more comfortable in this car than he does. So I definitely had it if I had more time. But I mean, good drive to him. He made it through, and it worked out.
No, it was a good showing from the both of you, and I wish you, of course, both best of luck next time. We'll see who comes up trumps in round 6 to come, and we'll also talk to Ryan Hunt. Ryan,
Yes?
you made the most of a bit of a mistake there from Barry Hill on the last lap.
Yeah. Well, me and you had it right through car. I was not strong on this car at all. This car was so dead. I was trying my best in the first race. I spin out when we have a bang. I worked on a recovery, trying my best to catch back up to you fellas. And then me and Barry did a scrapping. I was trying not to, well, in the corner gear, he was spinning out, he was tailing out, so I was trying not to hit him. I was trying to get the left of him, but I still gave him a loud bounce, but he didn't spin right out, so I was trying to drive clean.
Yeah, that came across on stream. We saw we were following you for pretty much the second half of that race with your good scrap going on. Yeah, it did very much seem that you were trying your best to, especially when Barry was just spinning in front of you, just to hit the anchors and not go to the back of him.
Anchor thing,
Well, is Barry Hill in here as well? We can get Barry's reaction to that.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, Barry. So not the best way to end the race. But what was your take on it?
Yeah, it was a pretty tough race actually. I actually, funny enough, I enjoy chasing than I do driving in front. When I'm in front, I make too many mistakes, so I just got to work on that. But yeah, it was a good race. Up to the 1A spun pretty much, and then I got tapped. So, but it was lots of fun.
Perfect. So, you looking forward to next time, Barry? Do you think you'll be able to challenge the front two a bit more?
Yeah, I really look okay. So like for these whole events, I never really do like any amount of practicing. I only hop on like an hour before the race. So we're gonna just keep doing that and see how it goes.
I like that approach. I think it's a nice, fresh way to do it. And we've got two other drivers in here, one being Kevin Manning, so we'll get Kevin's reaction as well. Kevin, your first race was quite the one to watch. There's like a good back and forth going on between you and Kadeem Mohammed at one point.
Yeah, that was actually a lot of fun in that first race. I thoroughly enjoyed that one. The second race, not so much.
No, yeah, the second one, a bit of one to forget. It looked like it just got a bit of a slap of oversteer and sent you into the middle, was it?
Correct. Up until that point, it was more, I found myself catching persons, but I couldn't quite make the pass. Someone would spin in front of me, and in avoiding them, I'd lose 2 positions, and it was just a race to remember. To forget, sorry, after that.
Yeah, not one to remember for yourself. Well, I wish you the best of luck next time, Kevin. Hopefully it goes a bit better. And we'll get the reaction of Aussie Willow. Aussie, I don't recognise the Discord name. Who have we got here?
It's Wilson, Osman Wilson.
Oh, hi, Oshin. Yeah. How are we doing? It's a better first race than it was second, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. The first race, I know I didn't have the pace to keep up with Damien and Dominic, so I just decided to stay in third position and just keep the pace and open up a gap to the guys behind and settle for third. And the second race, it was just a bit of bad luck trying to get past guys spinning out in front, so can't complain. Got a lot of points still, but the second race is going to be way better.
Yeah, I suppose with all the incidents, the race 2 often throws up a lot of incidents. What generally speaking, what's your approach for a reverse grid race?
Just stay out of trouble. That's the main approach. I don't really care about the position because I know there will always be carnage in front. So, but this time I got caught up in a lot of the carnage. So,
I suppose it doesn't always work out. Well, I wish best of luck to you next time, Oshin, and best of luck to all the rest of the drivers as well. Thank you for joining us here at Carib Sim Motorsport for what was round 5 Bushy Park Clubman Series. I hope you've all enjoyed that. I certainly did. We are live again next week. You can tune in next Sunday on the 15th of May. Unfortunately, there will be no commentary next time, unfortunately, but the live stream should be up and running, no problem at all. So tune in next week for round 6, and hopefully you'll see much more of some very great racing from all these great drivers. And thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the stream, please do subscribe, like the video, lets us know we're doing well. And if you're interested in what you see, drop us a message on YouTube or find our Discord at Caribbean Sim Motorsport, and you can join in the fun. So, with that in mind, thank you very much for watching. Well done, drivers, and we will see you next week. Thanks for watching.